I am so grateful that this accomplished group of Fishers Island sailors are here to share their experiences on the water, both at Fishers and around the world. This group is fresh off their first place finish at the first Eastern Yacht Club Women's IOD Invitational held in my hometown, Marblehead, Massachusetts, this past fall. So not surprisingly, they dominated the event with 5 first place finishes and 1 throwout in second place. So amongst this group, we have an Olympian, multiple world champions, Collegiate All-Americans, international team racers, and most recently, instructors in the Fishers Island Yacht Club women sailing classes hosted on Monday, open to the public. So please welcome Isabelle Farrar, Meris Enright, Megan Raymond, Beth Scholle, and Jennifer Parsons.
Wonderful. Thank you so much to Jennifer and the library for inviting us here. And thank you all so much for being here. We're thrilled to see so many of you. So before we kick it off, we wanted to just do a little bit of audience interaction. So show of hands. First, who of you has sailed? If you could raise your hands. All right. Close to 100%, but maybe we're at like 98%. Awesome. All right. Who sailed here as a child on Fishers or has a child or grandchild that has sailed here on Fishers Island? All right. Awesome. And who of you have participated in adult sailing or sailed as an adult here on Fishers? Awesome. Great. So lots of people. Thanks so much. So while we get our presentation up and running, I'm just going to start chatting. So my name is Isabelle now Farrar, as Jen introduced me. And each of us is going to do like a more fulsome introduction as we like move the presentation amongst us. But we, as a team, we came together to race in the IOD Invitational Championship, or Women's Invitational in Marblehead. And this was a fantastic event. It was the first time, so it was the 5 of us plus Erin Maxwell, who grew up racing against us. She grew up out of the Wadawana Club over in Connecticut. And so here, should we go to the next slide?
Sure.
The presentation. Yeah, next slide, please. Oh, no, sorry, previous slide. Sorry. Clearly, I don't know the presentation well enough. On our team, as Jen said, every single member of our team had won world championships or national championships or North American championships, like all 6 people. But it was our first time sailing together. So I'll explain how we came together as a team. So I was skippering the team, and it was honestly the first regatta that I've skippered, potentially since college sailing, 25 years ago. So I was a little nervous.
I'm going to help you out. So do you mind going to the next slide real quick? So we just wanted, before we got into the regatta, we just wanted to show, Isabelle's going to talk about everybody, but this is sort of one of the first pictures we found of women sailing on Fishers. And Megan found it, and we thought it was really funny because it's 2 ladies dressed up in their beautiful hats, and there's a man driving. So the next slide, though, is a picture of all the women participating in the regatta that we sailed in. So before Isabelle gets into the positions we wanted to show you, we've come a really long way. So Isabelle, if you want to get in, and then if you show the next slide, Jen, then she'll be able to point to all the positions on the boat. If it goes.
All right. Awesome. So here we are on board. So it's myself skippering. Here I am. Trimming mainsail was Erin Maxwell. Erin and I raced against each other as junior sailors here on Fisher's Island. And then we sailed together for about 8 years, trying out for the Olympics. Didn't make it together, but won a world championship and were ranked first in the world together in 470s. Then we brought on Meris, Enright, who we'd raced against each other. I coached Meris, but we'd never sailed together. Megan Raymond, who had coached me, but again, never sailed together. And then Jen and Beth, we race against each other in IODs, but had never sailed together. And so it was really fantastic to get together as a team. We raced, did a little bit of practice, brought the team together, had 2 really different and difficult days of sailing. The first day, there was very little wind and giant waves, 10 to 12 foot swells. So there was less talking the first day because Erin Maxwell was so seasick. And then the others of us ranged in degrees from Erin, the most seasick, to I think Beth and Jen were the least seasick. Who knows? But it was those were really challenging and fun conditions. And the second day was quite windy. It was close to 20 knots. And what was so much fun was, not only did we sail well together, but everyone sailed really well. There were no collisions, no major breakdowns. Everyone was in control for the whole regatta, and it was really impressive to see the women doing so well. Do you guys want to add to that? All right, next slide, please. So here's just more photos of us racing. And you can just see the different jobs that people were doing. The photo on the top I really like because that's how much we were winning by in that race. Those are all the other boats behind us. So the little sails behind us. And so here you can just see so we'll talk about sailing and the different types of boats and the fact that, people can play different roles. But on the boat, here you have Jen Parsons, who is up on the bow. So, she is often standing up, when we're going downwind. She has the best view of the race course, calling the wind from behind us. Most importantly, staying attached to the boat and switching the spinnaker pole, jibing the pole when we go downwind, jibing from one jibe to the other. Moving back of the boat, Beth was trimming spinnaker for us, spinnaker downwind and jib upwind. And Meris, I think you were helping, right, with spinnaker and jib? Yeah. So trimming sails on an IOD is a multi-person job. And so, we had 3 amazing trimmers trimming the sails. So that's sort of the middle of the boat. And Erin Maxwell was trimming main for us with a lot of help from Meris and Megan, especially on the windy day, because it's not even a one-man job, nor is it a one-woman job. And then Megan was really helpful. Megan and Erin were really helpful with calling tactics throughout the race. So next slide, please. Just another photo of us sailing at this championship. So unfortunately, we can't defend our title this year because it conflicts directly with the IOD World Championships, and 3 of us are racing in those, but looking forward to defending our title in coming years. Next slide.
Did you rotate boats?
Yeah, no, we did not rotate boats. Very good question. In one of the first photos, we had our owner, Bill Widendahl, who came out with us to help us. Well, he kept us company and made sure that we knew how to sail his boat. But I'd already sailed it a number of times before, as I think had you all. Yes?
What other yacht clubs were you sailing against besides Eastern?
There was a team that came from Maryland, a team that came from Canada, a team that came from Bermuda, and Northeast Harbor.
And 2 from Marblehead, I think.
Yeah, and 2 from Marblehead. All right, so now I'm going to transition it over to Meris.
Sure. So one thing that we didn't really touch on is where we all started sailing. So we all have very different sailing stories, which is pretty cool amongst our group. And for a lot of us, junior sailing on Fisher's Island was a huge part of how we got started. For me, it was the only place I ever sailed growing up. And it really, impacted my life. And so we pulled up some great pictures from the archive. So this is actually Isabelle's generation, and I'm sure there are people that you recognize in these photos. So these were all my instructors growing up, which is really cool. So one of the best things we think about Fisher's Island's junior sailing is how much cross-generational instruction happens, which is really great. So Isabelle, this was your crew getting dropped off at the North Hill buoy.
Do you want me to tell you who's in there?
Yeah, if you can.
All right,
Yeah.
so we've got Pete Malinowski, Dan Rosenthal, John Roberts, Nick Malinowski, Cutler Cook, myself, my brother, Arthur Kinsolving, Caroline Braga, and Megan McNamara. And I am almost certain that the people taking this photo included Mike McNamara and Megan.
That's amazing. And so one of the other, so that's an interesting idea that, Megan taught Isabelle, and Mike, I saw you here too. And so Isabelle was my instructor. I then went on to coach both Beth and Jen's children. And the first video I have of my son Thomas docking an Opti during COVID. I think it's Oliver is catching him on the dock. So it really just continues to kind of leapfrog down the generations. It's a pretty amazing and unique program. So very grateful to that. So in thinking about junior sailing, if you don't mind going to the next slide, I'll show you my generation. So these were some photos I found. The one on the right is taken at Mason's Island Yacht Club looking out at the causeway. It looks exactly the same. And I guarantee you that some of those boats are still sailing. But this is my crew of junior sailors. So Ted Ahrens, Crosby Cook, Catherine Lechtenberg, Jamie Brim, Parker Cook, Tommy Patterson, myself, and Daniel Stroth. And so a lot of these people are kicking around. I think I've seen almost everybody this summer, either down on the sailing dock or somewhere on the island, which is really great. But what I grew up sailing and learning here, which I then carried on later in my life, that gender, size, and brute strength are almost irrelevant in sailing. So that's, I think, one thing that really evens the playing field as a woman and makes it so fun, makes it such a mental game to be able to compete against genders. And I think that that was something that I carried with me onto college and beyond. And the other things that I really think back about with all of these amazing instructors is that they instilled that Corinthian spirit in me. The idea of being a wonderful competitor, being a gracious competitor, working as a team, even if you're in a single-handed boat, bonding at regattas, bonding during practices, love of the sea. I think being on Fisher's Island, we're in such a unique place, and the ocean is so inherently part of who we are that being here and even watching our kids at regattas, kids from Fisher's Island are just so comfortable on and in the water. And that's something that I hear consistently from people that come here. Instructors, maybe you can back me up or not. But our kids love to be in and on the water, which makes this just like the best classroom. And then the other thing that I think is maybe not unique to Fisher's, but so important to sailing and boating in general, is that it's such a family activity. So I grew up on the water with my mom and dad. And it really just kind of put it in my blood, and it will always be part of who I am. So I think that part of junior sailing on Fisher's, it just meant that this sort of set the stage for a larger playing field of sailing. And this was just the most incredible place to build a foundation. So I'm really grateful for what I took away from junior sailing, and then eventually went on to become an instructor here. And I still can't get out of it because I'm taking my kids to regattas now. So I love it. And I think it's just a really unique and wonderful place. Did you want to add anything to?
Yeah, and here we can go to the next slide. But also, a big shout out to the parents who are often integrally involved in sailing as an activity. As Meris said, it's often intergenerational. But when I was an instructor, my mother was like the parent running the program. And, I'm looking out at the room. Lucinda was very involved in running the program. I really can't name each and every one of you who have been integral to the sailing program here, but just it, really does take a community, and in this case, an island. But here, just more photos up. On the top, me and Megan McNamara racing a 420. I still remember the first time I ever went on a trapeze. It was when I was still an Optimist sailor, and my instructor took me out. Nicole Brault took me out in her purple International 420, and it changed my life. I was like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Yeah. And then here is a photo of Sarah Fisk and Kate Gaumond, who made it to the Sears, not Sears because that's triple-handed, but the double-handed, the Bemis in near New York. And just it's just so much fun to sail here, and the friends that you make in junior sailing here. I'm looking at you, junior sailors, and the instructors that inspire them. These are lifelong memories that have stayed certainly with us the whole time.
I want to comment one thing. Just one more touching on the intergenerational part of sailing on Fisher's Island. And I'm looking at Monique right now. So you reminded me of this. Thank you. So I'm enough older than these ladies that I actually hired both of you when I was running the junior sailing program, because I took it over after Monique. And then you guys hired our children. So we have 3 generations, almost 4 generations now of adults and kids who are all benefiting from what we all do. And yesterday, Monique and I went sailing together and women sailing. And I have to say, you were amazing on the bow.
Great. Oh, great. So we're going to work through the presentation, kind of hitting on different points of sailing experience and sailing development. And I think that some of the themes that you're going to find through these discussions are connection with individuals, connection with people, connection with the water, and the fact that you can do this sport for your entire life. And you also don't need to start when you are a junior sailor, though it is lovely to do that. You can start as an adult as well. So that is the mission here. So when I grew up sailing, it was across the Sound here, Fisher's Island Sound at Ram Island Yacht Club. We sailed against Fisher's Island quite a bit. And obviously I was one of Isabelle's mentors, so I feel very, I just feel connected to that as a stakeholder in her development there. But this is, so at Ram Island, we also had a lot of lovely opportunities. And as we got a little bit more experience, we were able to compete at youth championships. So this is just of us, a very crazy Mark Rounding coming in at the Weather Mark at the U.S. Youth Championships when I think it was 17 in Milwaukee in 91. And then we can go to the next slide, which is then following that, I was able to go on to sail for Tufts University and had a great experience with that. And a lot of and this is another thing with college sailing. I did grow up sailing, so I knew how to sail, but a lot of the people on my sailing team, a good chunk anyway, were just learning to sail in college. They were the right size and they had the interest and they had the accessibility, and Tufts funded a program to allow people to learn there's have to be obviously some athleticism, but they were literally learning to sail on a college team. And that's also something that you parents that are in the room that have kids in junior sailing or kids that are going off to college that even have some interest in sailing, you can show up at the dock and talk to the coach and begin to have these connections. Some of the things that were so interesting in college sailing was really just, again, the bonding and the ability to have an outlet after you go to your classes, you can go down to the water. Really just long-term, lifelong connections through the sport that were carried all the way through. And again, there's a lot of self-policing. There's a standard of sportsmanship that you carry back to campus, and just a really lovely way to enhance that academic and collegiate experience through athletics that sailing is allowed and it's only growing now. It's only getting more developed and more amplified. And I know that Beth also had a lovely sailing experience.
Yeah, good segue, because I think sailing is a unique sport. And it's particularly unique in collegiate sailing because it's so time intensive. Like, if you're a college athlete, what you'll usually do is you'll climb on a bus, you'll go play an hour game, you'll climb back on the bus, and you'll be back on campus that same afternoon. Sailing's different. You get in a car, you drive hours, you spend all day Saturday racing, you spend the night, maybe Friday night and Saturday night, wherever you're sailing. So from Dartmouth, we had long trips to Boston or Newport, we traveled distances, and we spent a lot of time together from Friday afternoon until Sunday evening. So we developed really close bonds with our teammates, and not only with our own teammates, but with our competitors. So I am still close friends with the women and men that I sailed against at Yale or at Brown or Harvard. Those are still my friends, and I still run across them sailing, which is crazy. So sailing builds really strong bonds, definitely in collegiate sailing, but I think in general it does too. The teamwork. Yeah.
Ask Beth how she met her husband.
Okay, another bond. Okay. So I grew up sailing in Prouts Neck, Maine, a little tiny summer community. So I did not grow up sailing here on Fisher's Island. But at Dartmouth, I had a Burnham on my sailing team. So after college, I got to know the whole Burnham family really well, because if we'd go sail at Brown, we would stay with the Burnham family in Newport, or with John at Brown. If we sailed at Yale, we'd stay with Louise. If we sailed in Boston, we'd all sail with my family. Anyway, we all got to be very close. I came out to Fisher's Island in 1984 to have a sailing weekend with the Burnhams. We went out to Pequot one night, and guess who was there? Ollie Scholle. I met Ollie because of sailing, but not directly through sailing. Is that the story you're referring to? Okay.
Question.
Sure.
Oh, hi.
What was the first thing you said to Ollie Scholle? About his name.
Not relevant to sailing.
Didn't you say, are you a sailor?
I said, what mother in her right mind would name a child Ollie Scholle? Guess what?
The irony.
You have one. Meris, did you have anything to add on college
Sure.
sailing?
Well, a perfect segue is I actually met my husband on the college sailing team. So mine was a much simpler meetup, but it went through sailing anyway. So just to add on to that, I think that the bonds that you make in your college sailing team, these are all of our best friends still off island, are people that we sailed with at Brown or against. We become, really tight. So I came only from our sailing program. I walked onto the team and I realized all of a sudden I was nervous. I was like, oh, I'm never going to be able to hack it here. And then, I think I started rigging the downhaul, and my skipper looked at me and he goes, "You've been sailing before?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've been doing this for a while." So the knowledge that I gained here on Fisher's really then translated, and I just kind of persevered. There were kids that came from much larger programs in Florida and California. And eventually, we got second at Women's Nationals my senior year. We had a great time. I was an All-American. So coming out of this program, you can do a lot of really great things. Thanks. But then after college, what I really got into and what I really love now is team racing. So team racing is a different kind of sailing. So I'm not going to go into it too much. So after college, I sailed with a team called the Tannery Loungers. So it's we all were the same vintage of college sailors. They were Tufts. We were Brown, Tufts, Hobart, and I think that was our squad. And we qualified for the Worlds on Lake Erie, and we ended up traveling to Perth, Australia the year after I graduated from college, and just had this incredible experience, partially sponsored by the Fisher's Island Yacht Club, which was really generous at the time. It made all the difference in getting us there. So thank you. But so if you go to the next slide, so what I now love is keelboat team racing. So I've done in recent years, I've really gotten into sonar team racing. So team racing is different from fleet racing in that you're on a 3-boat team and you're sailing against one other 3-boat team, and you rotate during the regatta to sail against all the other teams. So depending on the size of the regatta, you could sail against 3 other teams or 10 other teams in a regatta. And you kind of get ranked. It's like a bracket. So, but what's interesting about team racing is that it's not as much about boat speed. So you can hop into a boat with people. These are all the women that I sail with now are people that I sailed against in college. And so it's really cool. Actually, on the next slide, this is from this June. I sailed in the women's 2v2 in Newport. And the funny thing is that Erin's sister, Emily, was our skipper. So I sailed with Emily Erin in the IODs in the fall, and then Emily this spring. But in team racing, it's really more about quick thinking, boat handling, and that split-second decision-making. It's not as much about going upwind and trying to be the first to the mark. You're constantly thinking of different combinations. And so I've just loved that this is a sport that I can stay in and give a weekend to every once in a while. And I have this amazing experience with all these friends, reconnect with all of these friends from college. And it's just like being thrown right back into the fire. So this is the kind of sailing that I love. Megan also did some team racing after college.
That's correct. I did do a number of team races. Just the Hinman Championship, we were able to win that a few times, and also travel to World Championships for team racing. And I agree with Meris. It's just a very fun, strategic event. We won the team race nationals at Tufts after the women's event that we did women's nationals and team racing in the same year. 1 year. So that was it's just a really fun platform and different use and different strategy out on the water. And I think that, again, it's accessible and it's something that you can jump into once you get the training and you get a great team behind you. And I think now we're going to transition to
Isabelle's chapter.
All
right, next slide, please. All right, after I grew up sailing here, got hooked on trapezing, I went to college at Yale, did a lot of sailing there. And my college coach, we're actually good friends with him, and he's on the 615 ferry coming over with his daughters, one of whom is racing in the Opti Regatta. So you hear these themes repeating of relationships building. I was on the U.S. sailing team from 2001 through 2012. And during that time, thank you, I relied on many of you to fund that. People ask if I was a professional athlete, and I'm like, professional implies a salary. I was a full-time athlete funded in large part by the Fishers Island community and the Fishers Island Yacht Club. In sailing, I raced with one teammate through 2004. Together with Katie McDowell, I qualified for the Olympics. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then sailed with another teammate, Erin Maxwell, for 2 quadrenniums, trying out for 2008. 2012, didn't make either of those Olympics, but did win a world championship and was ranked first in the world in 2011. And so here, what I love about sailing, there's so many things that I love about sailing. One part of it is the teamwork aspect. And Jen and Beth will talk about that in the IOD, and I'll chime in later. But I'm looking at my IOD teammates in the back, my husband, Jonathan, Mike McNamara, and we have 3 other teammates, Graham Seener, who's married to Kate Malinowski, and Kevin Gilman. But just really the fact that together you can be more than the sum of your parts. The other remarkable thing about sailing is that, it's like playing basketball where the court changes on you every time. You have to be good in light winds. You have to be good in very strong winds. And here, Erin and I are sailing at a world championship in Cascais in Portugal. And people made fun of me for having my feet 2 feet apart on the trapeze, while I was trapezing. What they didn't realize was that no one else set their spinnaker on that tight reach, and that it was so windy. It was over 20 knots. Erin couldn't see a thing. She couldn't hear me either. So we reached past the reach mark, but just this sport of extremes and just really having fun and loving what you do. So next slide, please. So my first quadrennium, I tried out for the Olympics with Katie McDowell. In sailing in the Olympics, you have to be there's only one team per country, per discipline. So unlike swimming, where they're like Americans can sweep the podium, you have to be the best in your particular boat in your country to go to the Olympics. The 2004 Olympics were in Athens, Greece, which was really remarkable to be in the birthplace of the Olympics. Katie and I placed 5th overall. I think it hurts a lot less than 4th place. 4th place would have been devastating, I think. But for us, that was a really good result. And, that was, while we'd gotten 2nd at a European Championships, that was like a really good result for us. I got a lot of really cool gear. Some of it still fits me. The rest of it, my daughters are wearing right now. But this jacket, shorts, a ring. But just to be in the Olympics, it was like the culmination of a lifelong dream. There was nothing about it that was disappointing. Next slide, please. Here I am with my Olympic team, like all the sailors who were at the Olympics. All right, here's Katie McDowell, my teammate. Oh, I'm here, blonde at the time, not gray-haired. But, it was just fantastic to be part of this effort. And the Fishers Island Yacht Club, Burgee, came to the Olympics. There you see it at the yacht club with the Greek flag flying above it and all the other countries that were racing.
And one thing I love about this picture, which I didn't even know till I saw it, is that 3 people that I grew up sailing with, junior sailing, are also on this team with Meg Gaillard, Pete Spalding, and Tim Wadlow.
Yeah.
So it's very connected. Yeah.
All right. Next slide, please. Racing in Athens was phenomenal because we were at the Olympic venue. Sometimes sailing is like a 3-hour flight away, but we were right there. And here we are practicing before the regatta started. And you can see the Acropolis like right here in the background. So next slide, please. So after finishing 5th at the Olympics, I was really focused on getting a medal at the Olympics. I didn't want, 5th was not good enough. I wanted to go back with a teammate with whom I thought I could be good enough to win a medal. Because, at the time that I went to the Olympics in 2005, since then, no American women's team has done better, in 2004, has done better than 5th. That was actually, at that point, it was the low point because the prior women's teams had always won medals. But turns out that was actually the high point. So I teamed up with Erin Maxwell. We'd raced together as junior sailors and again in college. And together, we were really good. We could never piece together qualifying for the Olympics. But we won the world. So in 2007, the tryouts were in Long Beach. And I won't, bore you with the details, but we didn't win. Our families were there supporting us. My mom helped us pack everything up right after the regatta. And we had to make a decision after we didn't qualify for the Olympics, are we going to go and race the 2008 World Championships? And we decided, yes, we're going to do this. We feel like we're really good. We owe it to ourselves to prove that we are good enough as a team. And so we went to the World Championships in Australia and won a regatta leading up to them. Jonathan, we were not yet engaged. He was coaching me at that regatta. And then we won the World Championships, which is something that no American team had done since, I think in the 18 years leading up, and no one has done since. And so, here Erin and I are, that was the moment right after we'd sailed across the line, winning the Worlds. here we are celebrating together and celebrating with our coach, Skip White. And it was just like sort of just one of those moments where I remember talking to, watching the sunset the night before and just thinking like, tomorrow's the day, don't screw it up. But next slide, please. Oh, before we go to the next slide, I brought some medals. You guys can pass them around. But this is the medal from the World Championships. It's a little corroded, as any good sailing medal should be. And this is a medal from winning another regatta, Keel Week, where we were, that was the first slide. So then we tried out for the next Olympics, didn't make those either, but, had a really remarkable time doing it. And came back to Fisher's Island after, not qualifying for the 2012 Olympics. And, now I always consider that my children are my gold medals. But
And Jonathan.
So before I jump into Jennifer's story, I just wanted to tap into Isabelle's. Erin and Emily, Maxwell's dad, actually owns an IOD out here. And it just is another example of family sailing. So on Saturday, Isabelle goes out and races against her former teammates, dad and brothers. So I did not grow up on Fisher's Island, nor did I grow up sailing. I grew up riding horses, but I came out here and there was a crabbing contest at the yacht club. And I was like, that'll be a fun thing to do. So I took the then 5-year-old child to go crabbing and got scolded by one of Josh's relatives that I didn't have a life jacket on this child. So I went walking back down the dock, sad that we weren't going to go crabbing. And I stopped to say, wow, these are beautiful boats. There were 3 of them at the end of the dock, all dressed ship with their flags. And the gentleman on the boat said, well, we're giving sailboat rides later. Would you like to come back for a sailboat ride? And I was like, I don't know about that. I went home and came back at 1 o'clock for a sailboat ride. And was sailed around West Harbor. Marnie Franklin was on the boat with me that day. And that gentleman was John Burnham, who is now my boat partner. And at 32 years old, having never raced a sailboat, I learned how to race sailboats. And I have gotten to travel to some amazing places. I've gone to Sweden, I've gone to Norway, I've gone to Bermuda, from a sport that I learned in my 30s. So if you're sitting out there and you're thinking it's too late, I can tell you it's not. It's not too late to learn. And I can tell you that Fisher's Island is an incredibly welcoming place to learn how to sail. Since then, I think you've heard one of my children, Oliver, has taught Meris's children. He was taught by Ollie Scholle, the smaller one, the younger Ollie Scholle. So it continues. Next slide, please. This is me sailing with my kids and winning the Round Island race, and Carter Rose, who I treated as if he was one of my children. So we now keep it all in the family, and it's fun. Oliver is one of our boat partners, so it's kind of special to be able to go out on the IOD and not just sail with the team, but sail with a family member and be able to travel with him to some spectacular places and race with him. Next slide, please.
Okay. I love Jennifer's story, and I love that she's on a boat with me, but we're going to talk broader picture right now. We're going to talk about the IODs on Fisher's Island and a little bit about our fleet and the fleets around the world. So here is an IOD. Okay, it's 33 feet long. It's a beautiful Norwegian design sloop. They are long and thin and just glide through the water. It is a joy to sail them. We have 11 of them on the island. I think 9 are currently in the water, but it's a good sized fleet. And we have some amazing sailors in the IOD fleet, which you will see in a minute. Next slide, please. So this is my sailing family. This is one of the syndicates. Of the 11 IODs that we have on the island, I'd say about half of them are syndicates, meaning they're owned by a group of people. So in our syndicate, look at this. 2 men, 2 women. We're 50% women, which I can tell you is a heck of a lot different than when I started sailing in the Norwegian Wood Syndicate. In 1988, I was the only female and the youngest with 4 men. And I love them all dearly. They are my family too, but it's a different experience sailing with women, and I love it. Okay. Oh, I also have to point out, this is Oliver Parsons. So we not only have women on board, but we have the next generation of sailors on board. So yay, Oliver. We work well together, we sail well together, we enjoy each other, and we are still together. John and I have been teammates since 1988. Okay, next slide. Thank you. Okay, girl power. I just had to sneak this in here. This is all women on Norwegian Wood sailing around Fisher's Island. I think it was our Labor Day Round the Island race. And one little other girl power story. I love Isabelle's story of sailing in the Olympics with another woman. Women are not handicapped in sailing by size or strength. I think Meris said this earlier. There's so much involved in making a boat go fast, and only one small part of it is physical strength. So women do well. And when I was a little kid, I think I was about 14 years old, I showed up at a regatta that I'd qualified to go to, not my own venue. There were probably 15 older boys, 16-year-old boys, who were all way taller, way stronger, and there I was, teeny little 14-year-old girl. And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to get blown away. And you know what? A little bit of luck, but it was light air. And I got lucky, went fast in light air. But I want to make the point that women have every bit as much power to do well as men do on a boat. Okay. Girl power slide done. Thank you very much, Jen. Okay, so International One Design World Championships. I want to just give you all a feel of what it's like to be at a world championship, to be in a big sailing event. So this is the starting line. You can see it's a little crazy out there with a lot of boats on the starting line. I think this was Nantucket, looked like it. So it gets a little hairy. This is a downwind leg. I think it's a beautiful shot with all the spinnakers full coming downwind. Next slide, please. This is Fisher's Island in 2022. Again, a little bit of experience. This is crossing tacks. The starboard tack boat is right away. The port tack boat is ducking. It looks a little breezy. Here's a mark rounding. Again, boats converge on the windward mark and the leeward mark. And again, it can get a little dicey. But it's so much fun out there.
And loud.
And it can get loud. Our boat doesn't get loud. No. Next slide, please. So this is Northeast Harbor, and this is Norwegian Wood right here. This is our team, but it is not our boat. So when we go sail at a world championship, we do not take our boats. We use the boats of the host venue. So all of the owners in Northeast Harbor or Bermuda or wherever we're sailing have given their boats to the competitors who come in to race. And we change boats every race, which I think you are going to talk a little bit about.
So when we go borrow boats, we take very good care of our boat here on Fisher's Island. We have everything rigged just the right way, but maybe not everybody is as fastidious with their sailboat as we are. And you go to a regatta and you pick boats out of a hat and you get to sail some really awesome, well-tuned, well-defined boats. And you get to sail some, I think we called it the hotel, with like a microwave down below. And but theoretically, they're all one design boats. So when we go, it's a lot of teamwork to figure out where everything is and to get yourself ready. You're taking all your gear off of one boat, hopping into like a little rib that's going to take you over to another boat. And then you're starting the next race right away. So if you're the last boat to exchange, you don't have a lot of time to figure out how this new boat works. But it's one thing that makes it incredibly equal. when you go out there. Everybody has the same challenges when they sail these boats.
And that's where teamwork comes in again, because the better your team works together, the more quickly you'll figure it out and the better you'll do. So this slide here is last year in Norway. There were 3 fleets that came together for this championship event. So there was the Swedish fleet that brought their boats up and 2 Norwegian fleets. So we had 25 boats at Norway, which meant that we could they could host a lot of people, and just, fabulous place to sail. Next slide, please. So not everybody can get 25 boats together. Many of the venues where we sail need to borrow boats from other venues. So when we host a world championship here, our friends in Marblehead or Nantucket might sail their boats here. 2 years ago, when it was 2019, when Marblehead hosted the World Championships, we brought several of our boats from Fishers up to Marblehead, which means at the end of the week of racing, you got to get your boat home again. So we got in the boat Saturday morning at 9 a.m. We sailed through Massachusetts Bay. We sailed through Cape Cod Canal. We were coming down through Buzzards Bay. We watched the sun set. And then we kept sailing. We're almost reaching Fisher's Island Sound. We saw the sun rise. We got home in 23 hours. But this is what we do because we are all members of the International One Design World Fleets, and we help each other. Next slide, please. Okay, now we're going to just talk very quickly about some of the successes that the Fisher's Island teams have had in the last few years. So in 2018, this is Team Zali. So here's Isabelle. They won the Worlds in Sweden. Next slide, please. Norwegian Wood, our little team, won in 2019 in Marblehead. Next slide, please. Yeah, it was after that I brought the boat back. We won again in 2023. Now there is conspicuous absence here of Norwegian Wood team. Jennifer's not in this photo. She wasn't with us in person because she had a work obligation and she couldn't sail with us that week, but she was with us in spirit because every single day on our boat, we had Jennifer designed sandwiches. She sent the ingredients and she sent the menu. And we needed a lot of instructions. So she was with us in spirit. We ended up winning. And as you can see in that little slide in the corner, Jennifer was again with us in spirit. She sent a bottle of champagne and a cute little note. And, she's still part of the Norwegian Wood family, whether or not she's there in person. Next slide, please. And then just last year, Team Zali won in Norway. Woohoo. And I have to say,
Go ahead.
Oh, you want to go?
No, go say.
Oh, I have to say, we fight fiercely on the water. We were ahead all week, and then they beat us the last day. So we compete fiercely on the water, but when we're on land, we are 100% supportive of each other. We give each other help and advice, and we're teammates off the water.
And then I'll pass the mic back. But since I started racing IODs in 2013, I think that since 2015, a Fisher's team has won the World Championships every year except one of those years. And so Team Zali, we've won a bunch. Charlie Van Voris won one of them, and Norwood has won some also. I mean, more than some. And for example, in Nantucket, when Team Norwood won, going into the last day of racing, we in Team Zali were in second place, and only 2 boats could win. Like, we were guaranteed that a Fisher's Island team would be first or second. And so it was just which Fisher's team was going to be first and which was going to be second. There they were. Last year in Norway, we were. But as a team on the Zali, we always think that it is actually harder to win our July series, which qualifies us for the World Championships, than it is to win a World Championships. Because at the Worlds, there are a whole lot of other boats, not just the Fishers boats. And so, out there on a Saturday, competition is intense, and we have one more Saturday of racing to determine who will represent us at the Worlds next year, except that we have 3 teams racing in this year's Worlds. So if you win the World Championship, then you get to go back. So that's perhaps easier than winning our July series.
So as Isabelle said, we Fishers Island have won 8 of the last 9. And sailing in this fleet, it's very different than a lot of other fleets. There are a lot of other fleets where you go as a team, you stay in a hotel, you are with your team, but you're not with the rest of your competitors. And maybe the playing field isn't as equal. When you sail in a world championship and an IOD, you're hosted. So you go to Sweden or Norway and you're staying in someone's home, and then you see them again and again over the years, and you host here on Fishers Island. And we're really lucky and we're really grateful, because I guarantee many of you have opened up your homes generously and graciously to host. And that's the only way we can do something like this, is for you all to be so generous and to open up your homes and to entertain these other fleets that come from all around the world. So it is a really special and unique fleet of sailboats. And thank you all, whoever has opened up their home. And in 3 years, we're gonna ask you to do it again.
There's one.
One more.
Oh,
Yeah.
We can just zip through this.
Okay.
Yeah. This just shows more of our Fishers Island family in a different venue. This is Norway. Look at where we're staying. I mean, talk about a beautiful spot and another gourmet meal. And then our last slide for the IOD section is this one. So we had 3 teams, as Isabelle was just saying. We had 3 teams that qualified to go to Norway last year, which is unheard of, and it just speaks to the very high level of racing we have here on Fishers Island.